Estonia is very famous for the latest developments. They were one of the most advanced countries when it comes to e-government and e-solutions. I'm really curious what I'm going to see and what I'm told.
Since Estonia has many business services that Estonian business people are so familiar with, but around the world the services are different, so there is a huge competitive advantage in this. And issuing an e-residency card, which is not a citizenship, not a visa, it's a special access, a key card to the business services that Estonia has to offer, and all of that without leaving the country you live in. So today there's over 22,000 e-residents that are benefiting from the program, and it's actually in a beta version startup, so it's just developing. So the benefits are major for SMEs, for freelancers, for self-employed, mostly for startups. So anyone who wants to have a location-independent business, but they want still to operate legally, have access to PayPal, credit card payments, payment platforms, or whatsoever, and they want to have minimum administration and reporting at hand. So this program is relatively new, but has exponentially grown because the value for those companies is not only in the simplicity and location dependency, which are of course the biggest, but also the credibility that they get operating in the European Union, and especially that's topical for, let's say, Ukraine, for countries with a not very stable environment or that are not so developed, that don't belong to like European Union, for example, or in Asia, who want to work in European Union and have a credibility because of that. They can still live anywhere and trade anywhere and have their online store just juridically registered in Estonia. So the taxation side, of course, is a bit more complicated because you still have to pay taxes. That's obvious because this is a very transparent environment to do business, a legitimate one, but it depends on the form of the company and where the value is generated. So the taxes should be paid where the most value is generated. So we advise people to contact their tax advisors. They have specific questions about that. Today, from these 22,000 e-residents, there is over 3,000 companies. So 2,200 companies are new, established, and the others are belonging to e-residents, so the companies were there previously. And the biggest motivations of e-residents is to have a location-dependent business, which is about 42%, then 25% is to do business through Estonia or with Estonia. So somehow, and the industries are obviously ICT-related, advertising, marketing, like anything you can, like commercial, sales, like anything that you don't require physical office. And the entrance costs for e-residents are also very low if you compare it to any other country, and the fact that you don't have to physically come here not to get the card or to provide any documentation. And that's a big benefit.
Are there any costs involved? How much?
E-residency card costs around 100 euros now. It's a bit cheaper. It's actually not a year, it's a one-time fee. As long as the certificate lasts, I think they're for 5 years. So there's going to be a tough background check, and so we have to cover those costs. And then let's say now Finnish bank, it's not like official bank, but a financial service provider for SMEs, so it's called Holvi. So they've partnered with e-residency, so there you can establish kind of a bank account online. So for doing this, you also don't have to come, because our banks, local banks, are still struggling to work out. We have a legislation that allows this, but they have to come up with technological solution. So this technological solution, how it's described for opening a bank account location independently, would include a video recording of your meeting, like with a bank employee, and facial recognition techniques that will 99%, not 60% like it would be in personal meeting, identify you. And maybe a few examples of the e-residents. I say from popularity, Finland is number one, as there's the most businesses or business people who have some connections with Estonia and they don't have to travel now. Then there's Russia, there's Ukraine, there's UK. So especially for UK, we have made a campaign for them that they can still live there, but they can have a business in Estonia officially and run it from the UK. The example would be, I think, the person who can probably, well, he agreed his story will be revealed. And he is a Ukrainian artist. So actually he's a disabled person, so he's in a wheelchair. And otherwise, when he lives in Kiev, he has no other options than go and sell his art on the streets, which obviously doesn't create the income that he could potentially have. And having Ukrainian bank doesn't allow you to use online banking, and you don't work with PayPal or credit card payments, so there's no options for this. But once he set up a company in Estonia through the e-residency program, he has his online website, he's selling his paintings around the world, and he can be, empowered by this and live a normal life. And there are many stories like this. It's not only about disablement, but let's say Silicon Valley startuppers. They opened a company in Estonia as well, and when they live outside the US, they get also evasion on the taxes. It's over 100,000 a year. So they travel around the world, they talk to their customers, and when they pay taxes in the US, they get to pay much less. But they still can be operational because of the e-residency and management of the business online.
What's the current tax rate here in Estonia for running a business and VAT?
It's 20% income tax, and VAT tax is also the same. And there is zero tax on reinvested profits. So this is also one of the great benefits of doing business here. So if you're doing R&D or ICT related things and you're reinvested, you don't have to pay taxes. Where Estonia is heading is towards zero bureaucracy and creating this invisible and flawless services. When everything works very well, you don't have to deal with it, then this is the ideal case, right? And why government always have to be the one that we have to prove ourselves and to prove our eligibility to some benefits or to do something. That's really not the caring way, how it could be. So building invisible service, for example, could mean that the taxes just get declared, that you get your renewed documents if the others are expiring, that your address, if you've, like we have it here, if you've changed your address in the population registry, then automatically everybody else gets access to that if you want them to. Or let's say a mother who gets a baby in the hospital, for the hospital tax services and social services communication, a woman just gets her mother's salary to her bank account without even having to apply. So all of this is just one small step ahead, the same as a real-time economy. So this means that once I can pay a bill and the payment for the service provider will go directly to the service provider, but the taxes would go directly to the tax authority, then no one has to report. That's the ideal case. And technology can do all of that. Not try to, in the back, get statistics about how the companies are performing 2 years or 3 years after. Or with real-time economy, we could plan and see the economical impact of any reforms, of changes in the taxes, of seeing how companies are performing today in the economic crisis. We can predict so many things much better if we use technology for this.